I'm going to tell you something that took me 30 years to notice. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Put 20 retirees in a room together, folks. Don't show me a single statement. Just give me 10 minutes of listening. And I can tell you which ones are going to be just fine, and which ones are quietly headed for trouble. Now, here's the part that ought to stop you cold. It ain't the size of the nest egg. It ain't even close. I've watched folks with 300,000 who are gonna be all right for 30 years. And I've watched folks with $1.5 million come apart at the seams, slow and quiet, where nobody can see it. Same money, folks. Completely different lives. And every single time it comes down to a handful of things. 6 things, to be exact. 6 things the wealthy retirees do that most retirees never do even once in their whole retirement. I'm Earl. 30 years I've spent watching how retirees actually live with their money. Not the brochure version, the real one. And I'll say this straight. When I say wealthy, I ain't talking about the size of the pile. I'm talking about the retirees who sleep good, folks. The ones who pick up the check without doing math under the table. Stay with me through all 6, because number 6 is the one nobody wants to talk about. And skip it. And it's your kids who pay for it, not you. If you're over 55, tap subscribe before we dig in. This is the stuff nobody tells you at the retirement party. All right, let's meet the 2 fellas who taught me all 6 of them. This is Dale, 69, retired plant supervisor. Never made big money a single year of his working life. And this here's Curtis, 68, made near double what Dale made. Bigger house, better title, the whole thing. Curtis has more money than Dale right now. Today, on paper, it ain't even a contest. But Dale's the one who's gonna be fine. And Curtis is the one who calls me worried. That gap ain't luck, and it ain't the market. It's 6 habits, 'cause every one of them is free. Number 1, wealthy retirees decide what the money is for before they decide where it goes. Sounds soft, don't it? It ain't, folks. It's the whole foundation of a good retirement. And almost nobody does it. Most folks spend 40 years answering one question: how much can I save? Then retirement comes, and nobody ever hands them the next question, which is, what's it actually for? Dale sat down the year before he retired and wrote 3 things on one sheet of paper. Time with the grandkids. Never be a burden to his daughter. And 2 trips a year while his knees still work. That's it. 3 things. And from that day on, every money decision had something to measure against. Curtis never wrote anything down. So his money had no job, and money with no job just drifts. It leaks into stuff. A newer truck he didn't need. A boat he used 4 times. Upgrades on a house that was already fine. Not big dumb mistakes, folks. Just 1,000 small ones, 'cause there wasn't a thing to say no on behalf of. That's the thing about purpose. It ain't feel-good talk. It's the only thing that gives you permission to say no. And here's the kicker. It's also the only thing that lets you say yes without the guilt. Dale takes his trips and never feels bad about a dime of it. 'Cause it's on the list. It's what the money's for. Curtis spends more, enjoys it less, and worries the whole time. Same dollars, folks. Completely different piece. That's 1 down, 5 to go. Number 2, wealthy retirees measure in years, not dollars. Now, this one flat-out changed how I look at retirement money, and I want you to really hear it. Most retirees look at a balance and see a number. 400,000, 600,000, just a number sitting there. Dale don't see a number. Dale sees years. He knows almost to the month how long his money covers his life. So when he's looking at spending something real, he ain't asking, can I afford this? He's asking, how many months of freedom does this cost me? And that question answers itself real quick. A $15,000 kitchen ain't $15,000 to Dale. It's 5 months of his life. Sometimes he decides it's worth it, sometimes he don't. But he always knows exactly what he's trading, 'cause he did the math once. Curtis has no idea. His balance goes up and down, and it's just weather to him. Something that happens. And here's what that does to a man. When you can't measure it, you can't feel safe. So you never do. That's why Curtis has more money and less comfort, folks. He's rich in dollars and dead broke in certainty. Try it this week. Take one thing you're thinking about buying and price it in months instead of money. It'll rearrange your head. 2 down, 4 left. Number 3. Wealthy retirees buy back time. Most retirees buy more stuff. And I know how that sounds coming from a fella who talks about saving money for a living. Stay with me. Somewhere in your 70s, something shifts, folks. What you're short on stops being money and starts being energy. Dale figured that out early. So he spends money on things that hand him hours back. He pays a kid to do the yard. He hired out the gutters and the deck staining. He don't crawl on a roof anymore. Cost him about $2,000 a year. And he'll tell you it's the best money he spends. Without blinking. Curtis still does it all himself. Says he ain't paying somebody for what he can do. Except now it takes him a whole Saturday. His back's out Sunday, and he's too wore out Monday to see anybody. He saved $2,000 and spent 40 Saturdays. At 68, that ain't a bargain. That's a bad trade. Here's how the wealthy ones think. Money you can sometimes make more of. Saturdays at 68, you can't. Same goes for the little stuff. The grocery delivery. The direct flight instead of 2 connections. It ain't being fancy. It's trading the cheap thing you got plenty of for the expensive thing you're running out of. And the retirees who figure that out don't just live longer in retirement. They live wider. All right, hold on. Before number 4, let's blow off some steam together. Can somebody explain why every single form in retirement wants the same information you already gave them twice? Name, date of birth, account number. 3 times. On the same visit. To the same desk. So tell me down in the comments, what's the most ridiculous piece of paperwork you've dealt with since you retired? I want to hear it. Get it off your chest. Then come on back. 'Cause number 4 is where folks lose the most money without ever noticing. That's 3. We're halfway, and the next one's the biggest. Number 4. Wealthy retirees stopped competing. And they know the exact day they stopped. Every one of them can tell you about the day they figured out what enough looks like for them. Not enough in general, folks. Not some magic number off a website. Enough for their retirement, their bills, their list. Dale's number came out to $420,000 plus his Social Security. That's IT. That's his enough. And the day he hit it, something let go in his chest. He quit checking the account every morning. Curtis has never had a number, so there's no such thing as arriving. There's just more. And a man without a finish line runs forever, 'cause there ain't nowhere to stop. Doesn't matter how far he's already gone. That's why Curtis still watches what his neighbor drives. Why he took a risk last year he didn't need to take. Folks, at 68, there ain't a single prize for finishing ahead of the fella next door. Not one. The wealthy retirees I know play a completely different game, folks. They ain't trying to win. They're trying to not lose what they built. And that shift from more to enough is worth more than any investment return you'll ever get. 'Cause the day you know your number, every dollar past it turns into something else. It turns into options. Options for the grandkids. Options for a bad year. Options for the trip you keep putting off. 4 down, 2 to go. Number 5. Wealthy retirees make it boring on purpose. Every one of them has some version of the same thing. One page, one system, and they barely touch it all retirement long. Dale's whole retirement lives on a single sheet in a kitchen drawer. Accounts, what's automatic, who to call. He looks at it 4 times a year. That's it, 4 times. Curtis checks his balance most mornings before his coffee's cool, and it don't help him one bit. 'Cause here's what daily check-in actually does. It turns normal market wiggle into a mood. Then the mood turns into a decision. And decisions made from a mood at 7 in the morning are how good plans get wrecked. The wealthy ones ain't smarter than Curtis. They just built something boring enough that they don't have to be smart very often. Automatic transfers, a set schedule, a cash cushion so a bad month don't force a decision. Boring ain't the opposite of good, folks. In retirement, boring is good. 'Cause boring is what lets you sleep at night. And if your plan requires you to be sharp every single day to survive, that ain't a plan. That's a job. Ya already had one of those. You quit on purpose. Now let me ask you something straight, and I want you to actually sit with it. Of these 5 so far, purpose, years, time, enough, boring, which one did you already know you ought to do? 'Cause I'd bet money it ain't that you didn't know. It's that you kept meaning to get to it. Curtis knew about 4 of these. Knowing never saved a single soul a single dollar. Put it in the comments. Name the one you've been meaning to do. Saying it out loud is how it stops being next year's problem. All right, 5 down. Number 6, the one nobody wants, and I'm just gonna say it plain. Wealthy retirees say it out loud. They have the conversation everybody else avoids. Dale sat his daughter down 4 years ago. Told her where everything is. What he wants. What he don't want. Took about 40 minutes, folks. He said it was the most uncomfortable 40 minutes of his year. And the best. Curtis hasn't told a soul anything. His wife don't know where the accounts are. His kids don't know his wishes. And he'll tell you why, same as everybody. He don't want to worry 'em. He'll do it later. It's morbid. Folks, I've watched what happens when a family gets handed a mess instead of a plan. It ain't the money that breaks 'em. It's the guessing. 2 kids in a kitchen arguing about what Dad would have wanted, and neither one of 'em knows. That argument can end a family. I've seen it happen more than once, and not one time did it have to. The silence you think is protecting 'em is the exact thing that's gonna hurt 'em. 1 page, where things are, who to call, what you want. 40 minutes at a kitchen table. Check your beneficiary forms while you're at it. They beat your will, and half the folks I know have 'em wrong. That's the 6th thing, and it costs nothing but nerve. So there they are, all 6. Purpose, years, time, enough, boring, and out loud. Not one of 'em requires more money, folks. Not a better market. Not an advisor. Not one. That's why Dale's fine on less, and Curtis worries on more. It was never about the size of the pile, 'cause it never is. Pick one, folks. Just one. Do it this week while it's still fresh. 1 is how this changes. And here's our word today. If you want my 1-page version of what Dale keeps in that kitchen drawer, type the word enough in the comments. 1 word, enough. If this one hits somewhere true, do me a favor and tap that like button. It's the only way YouTube knows to show this to another retiree who needs it. And if you ain't subscribed yet, get on board. I put out real retirement talk every couple days. No hype, no fear. Now, tell me this one, just for fun. Which of the 6 are you, honestly? Dale or Curtis? I won't tell anybody. And what's the one thing you finally quit doing yourself and paid somebody else to handle? I bet half of you say the yard. Know what your money's for, know you're enough, and say it out loud. This is Earl. Take care of yourselves, folks.